with Andrew Foliato.
Thank you. How's everyone doing? So I got here this morning to rehearse around, I left around 6, so it was nice to see some of you coming back from the parties. Any of the people I saw on the street this morning coming back make it here this morning? Because 2 of you promised you would. And I don't know if you actually showed up, but I'd be really impressed if you did, because that continues that great RE/MAX conference tradition of just rolling straight from the after party into the event. I've been at a few of them. Last night I called it a little earlier than that, but today what we want to do is talk about kind of the marketing trends that we're seeing. But before I do that, I want to kind of show you the lens that I look at trends through. So we're going to go back to when I got in the industry, which is in 2012, and look at that doe-eyed little kid who doesn't know it. This is to date myself besides the actual date on there. I got that done at Sears, and she said, do the realtor pose. I think I nailed it. Perfect. And then I was doing I grew the beard because everyone's like, you look too young. And I was like, yeah, I used to joke that, part of the reason I wasn't getting some clients is because I was too young. Turns out I just didn't know what I was doing. That's what I thought at the time. But I was trying everything. I was actually, for those who don't know my history, I was a RE/MAX agent when I started out. I was with RE/MAX York Group in Aurora. Do we have any York Group people here? Close enough. So now it's RE/MAX Hallmark. We got bought. But I started under Bill Jenkins, and he did the thing day one. Here's the phone book, again, to date myself, said start at A, which the best advice I ever got, start at D, because everyone's given up by then. The A's have been called a million times. So if you just start at D, you're good. And I tried that. I did door knocking. I tell this joke a lot, which is I got a deal on the second house I ever door knocked and thought I was going to make so much money. I didn't really get another deal door knocking again. 8,000 houses later, and it turns out just saying, hey, I'm the 25-year-old kid here. I'm new to the industry. Would you like to hire me? Is not a winning offer. I learned the hard way that I'm not good at that part. But what I did start doing is I was blogging 5 times a week. I got a lot of success from Google+. Does anyone remember Google+? I bet at least 5% of you still have that logo on your website to click through and you just forgot about it. And I got a lot of success there accidentally. I had no idea I was even on Google+. I got a call from an agent and he was like, Andrew, I want to talk to you about why you're killing it on Google+ and what I can do to replicate your success. And I was like, I'm on Google+? Turns out my website auto-posted every blog post to Google+, and I had 100,000 views on the platform. I had no idea. And that was a lot of stuff. I started getting thousands of people to my website, but when I went through Google Analytics early on, a lot of them were from Egypt. Didn't really help. But what I started, the more I started doing things, I started getting a lot of attention. The town, when I was 6 months into the industry, town council brought me in to talk about heritage zoning because they were thinking about making some changes. At that point in my career, I had never even walked through a heritage home yet. I wasn't even sure where that zone was in my town. I had to go talk to people in my office who actually knew what they were doing to figure out what I could say to them. Scott McGillivray brought me in to be the backup agent, and I thought I was about to be an HGTV star. Turns out I was so bad at that part that they never even talked to me again. They just mailed a check and ignored every email after that. But I was getting all this traction and attention, and I learned really much the hard way, attention is not clients. And you can get as many views as you want. You can get page views, website views, new followers. It's irrelevant if you don't have a plan to turn that into clients. And that's the biggest thing we see with marketing online. And I learned it almost a little too late. So I ended up taking a job, for those who know me way back, at RE/MAX head office here when it was RE/MAX Integra. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do this for 2 years. So if you remember me back then, you'll know when I went on stage, I just said Aurora as many times as I could fit it, because my intention was I'm going to build the greatest referral network for 2 years, and then come back and do sales and just build a referral-based business. But then when I started doing that, and everyone's like, can I just hire you to do that for me? I was like, I actually like that business better, but I started getting a lot of followers in the real estate community, which tanked my real estate accounts that I had, because realtors started following me and engaging with all my content, which led to a problem. And you guys all know the type of agents I'm talking about. I briefly was kind of like this, which is they play a realtor on Instagram. They have tens of thousands of followers, but then you look them up and you're like, oh, look how good they are. I'm gonna look them up and they do like 3 deals a year. Do we all know someone, 1 or 2 like that? Right? There's a lot of them out there in the industry, and it started with the best intention, right? Like they created a video that people in the industry were like, that was hilarious. And then they followed that agent, or they got featured somewhere, and they started getting more realtors following them, and they're like, oh, look how many comments and views this video got. I'm gonna make another one like that. And then another one, and then another one. And before you know it, it's all realtors, and if they're not capturing the referral stuff out of that, they're not getting clients because clients aren't watching their content. And then really they have 2 choices. Sell you a course on how to get their success on social, or join a downline. Because they're just playing a realtor on Instagram. They're not looking at what gets results. And so when we look at, okay, because I get this a lot, especially with REM and how many agents we talk to across North America, is like, can you tell if this person's legit? So like, there's a few things we look at, like, what are they doing? And we pretty much base it around this idea of this North Star when we're trying to decide what trends to pay attention to and which ones not to, is does this lead to more trust with the type of clients we want? And if it doesn't do that, it's not something you really need to worry about, and you can kind of pass off a lot of the time. So this is the lens. So what we're gonna go through today are 3 trends that we think matter, and then 3 that don't. Because I think it's just as important to know which ones you can kind of just ignore safely and go the other way on. So the first one is long form content. Everyone's talking about short form content, you gotta do it, but that doesn't build trust the same way long form. Like I look at, especially outside the industry, I've started noticing it a lot. Like if you know who to look at online who are really good operators of businesses, you pay attention not to what they're saying, but how they're executing. And the biggest trend we're seeing, and it's starting to come into real estate, but not a lot yet, is they're taking, like, imagine your listing presentation. They're doing things like that, but they're putting their entire thing on YouTube, and all their short form content, all their other marketing drives people to a long form content that talks about hiring them. And like, I have talked to people who have done 50-minute videos that after 6 months have like 300 views. But they've made 6 figures from that video. Because the ideal clients are going on and watching it. And if, like, think about real estate. Like if I'm gonna buy a home or join a brokerage, that's a huge decision. I'll watch a 45-minute video because in the moment, that's important to me. And this is what, like, we see this with REM. Like we look at content, people submit like, oh, you gotta do like a 300-word article. I'm like, some of our best performing content is 2,000 words or more. Because we make it a valuable 2,000. Like most long form content that doesn't perform is just because it sucks. Like that's really what it is. Like you're like, like I always say like YouTube videos, like, oh, the best length of a YouTube video is 7 to 12 minutes long. And you have 3 minutes of content, you're like, all right, what am I gonna put in this to hit that 7 to 12 minutes? And you just fill it with crap. Of course that's not gonna work. So long form content, if it's relevant to the person that you're trying to get, it builds trust with them. So like, I would want it to build trust with my ideal clients. You can make that almost as long as you want. Like I've had successful 3-hour videos that have gotten me clients before, which sound ridiculous, but when someone's in that buying mode and it's a big investment, they'll sit there and watch something really long. Now, one of the trends you really don't have to pay attention to is being everywhere. Like if you're someone who's doing 30 to 50 deals a year and you're actually happy there too, you don't need to be on Instagram if you're not already. You don't even need to be on social at all. You can build a very successful business and not be on social at all. Like when I got in the industry in 2012, I was at an event, kind of like this, but there was a speaker on stage like, if you're not doing video, you're gonna be out of the business in 5 years. And it was like a hard, now people say that about AI too, if you're not doing it, you're gonna be out of the business in 5 years. I still know people doing 200 deals a year who don't even know how to log into their Instagram account. Like it has a place, it can be effective. But you don't need to be on every platform. Figure out what gets you clients, get it to the point where it's predictable that you're going to get clients from it, and then look at, okay, what can I add next into that that's complementary? But first, know, okay, like if that's door knocking, just door knock until you get that client. You know predictably, every time I knock on this many doors, I'm gonna get this many clients. Here's the result that's gonna come from it. Once you're there, okay, what's next? What's complementary to that? What can I add in? For some of you, that might be Instagram or TikTok. Like I was talking the other day with an agent who, she has 50,000 followers on TikTok, does about 400,000 GCI a year just from her TikTok account. You can do that, but for a lot of people, that's way too much. Like how many people probably spend hours a week on social media and don't get clients from it? Because like,
I do, but
we get some. I see agents who for years have been on social. Like, it's probably spent 5 to 15 hours a week on social media, and maybe can track a handful of clients at most. If you're spending 10, 15, 20% of your time, you better predictably be able to say how much time that's getting you. How many clients is that bringing me? And most people can't do that. And one of the big trends we're seeing now on social that is where the people getting results are, and I'll use the woman actually I was talking to about TikTok as the example here. What she was doing was really smart. She was putting out 3 TikToks a day for a year straight. And they were just her talking on camera. She didn't want to do like the dancing and all that and sharing all these details about her life. She just would basically give homeowner tips. But then once a day, she'd go live for up to an hour. So she'd do like sit there in front of the camera, answer questions and stuff like that. And most of the comments from people who were joining live were either making fun of her, ripping on realtors, blaming her for the state of the housing market. You know, all that fun stuff you guys get online sometimes. But once in a while, you get a comment or a question from someone that looks like they might be in the market. She'd screenshot and then message them after. Or like when we look at people getting success on Instagram, you know one of the most successful things that we've seen people get clients on Instagram with now is when they get a new follower, they DM them. And they'll just say, hey, thanks for following. Are you just interested in Halifax real estate or are you planning to move? Like, think of a new follower like a lead. Like, if someone fills out a form on your website, that's not much different than them hitting the follow button. Because who's going to follow a real estate agent unless they know you? It's like your mom, because my mom loves following me on every platform. But like outside of that, it's someone who is planning somehow at some point to plan a move. Because you don't follow real estate agents unless that's in your head. So if you think of every new follower like a new lead that came through your website, wouldn't you reach out to them? And yes, some people will ignore you. Some will even unfollow you. But how is that different than leads that come in and stop talking to you anyways, even if they filled out a form? Message every new follower. Adjust the script so it fits with you. If you can see their account, you can even maybe pull something from it and reference it. But it's a really easy way. And the more conversations you're having, the better it is. And that's one of the easiest ways to tell if your online marketing is working. Has it created any conversations with potential clients or referrals? Right? It's like, if that's not happening, you have to adjust it or stop doing it. But if you are having conversations, maybe they haven't turned into clients yet, but if you see those conversations happening, you know you're getting that traction, you just need to adjust it a little bit. Now, this one, I will preface this by saying, I use AI daily. I was using it this morning. It probably saves me anywhere from 15 to 20 hours a week. Some of my staff, we can increase their workload by 40% because of AI. It is huge, but a lot of people we find are using it the wrong way. And the first thing you should outsource is not having it talk to your people for you. This AI, similar to DocuSign when it came out, so like when I actually worked at Remax head office, I became like a certified DocuSign trainer. And I remember one of the main objections we got for the first 3 months of training was, this is going to take time away from being with your clients. We shouldn't use DocuSign. This is the worst thing to ever come to the industry. And then people sometimes say that about AI too, but at the end of the day, if you're using those tools right, it gives you more time with your clients. So look at how can we improve the back-end experience? How can we let it do things? Like AI, they've even done studies. If you market yourself as the AI-powered realtor, they'll trust you less. So we use it for back-end stuff that speeds things up. We use it for brainstorming, execution, but that's where it stays kind of in that back end. And then when it does interact with clients, it's to improve the experience. Like, what if instead of a voicemail, it was an AI that talked to them and just said, hey, Andrew's at a showing right now. And there's ones you could probably set up that would read your calendar, be like, Andrew's at showings with a client right now. Why are you calling? Maybe I'll get him to call back. Just let me know what it's about and I'll have him follow up. So it's better than a voicemail, right? You can introduce them in some interactions that way, but focus more on, does this save me time? Does it help me write captions? Help me write emails? Does it help me brainstorm ideas? Help me do things like that. If someone has a great idea, you can put it in there and pressure test it really quick. So there's a lot of value to AI that saves a lot of time, but if you immediately go to I'm going to have this talk to my clients for me, that's when it's going to be a problem. I was talking with someone yesterday in the hall, and they said they had an email that came out from the AI that in the afternoon, but that morning they had had a conversation with the client, but then they got an AI email later on that day that was almost like they hadn't talked in a while. That kills trust fast. So you want to, before you ever have it touch clients directly, you want to be doing the back end side, get that perfected so that you just give yourself more time with your clients. The other one, and especially because of AI, there's so much crap online. Like, it's so easy to create content. There's so much crap out there that there's a million hacks. Like, how many people can go online and see, look at all these hacks, I should try that, I want to try that. I was guilty of this. I spent thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of dollars probably when I was selling. I bought every system imaginable, and there weren't really systems. I was like, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try that. Like, even when something worked, I'd be like, oh, that was great. I wonder what I'll try next. What I should have done is gone back to, like for example, my most successful marketing campaigns were running content that drove people to first-time homebuyer seminars, and I did in-person first-time homebuyer seminars. Every time I did that, I got clients out of them. Sometimes I might only get one or two. Sometimes I got more. But I do a handful of them and be like, oh, that was great. Next, I'm going to find something else to do. Should have just gone back, created a system to repeat the process of doing seminars as much as possible. But what you need to create is here's my system that I do to get clients. I think everyone should at minimum have 2 systems mapped out. And I mean grab a pen or post-it notes or something and map out start to finish. First one is how do you get clients? And if there's a guy named Ryan Dice, if you guys know him, he has a book that talks about this called Get Scalable, but the first one is just how do you get clients? Start to finish, map out every single point along the line. And that includes what emails they get, every piece of it. Start to finish, how do you get clients? And then it's how do you serve your clients? So obviously the how do you serve them starts when the other one ends, but that's it. If you map those 2 out, because then you come here and you hear an idea, you can look back in your mind and be like, where does it fit into the systems I have that are getting results? Then you can put metrics to the different pieces of it and say, okay, where does this fit in here? How am I going to track that it's getting better or not? And that it's leading to the right thing that I want to do. Because sometimes people come to events like this and hear an amazing idea, and it doesn't work for them. And sometimes it's because it doesn't fit with your business, and if you don't have it. And the other nice thing when you map it out is you can actually now take that and start hiring people to do different parts of it because they know exactly where it is, how it fits in, and how it can get you to the end. So instead of chasing these individual hacks all the time, build a system, and then you see where those can fit in when you need them. And then the one that we see a lot too is metric tracing. And this is a term I just made up, so if you're like, I don't know what that is, that makes sense because I made it up 2 weeks ago. So what do we mean by this? And this is a trend we see a lot when we work, especially with brokerages and teams that have marketing staff. And it does happen with realtors too, but it's more on the staff admin side that we see this especially, is they're chasing metrics that don't actually move the needle. We'll see people look how many new followers I got. Look at how much I've improved the open rate. Does the open rate matter if they don't know how many clients come from that? Let's say they took the open rate from 40% to 70%. When I bought REM, their open rates were at 50%, and we got them up to now about 68, 69% on the average email. But if I did that but had no idea what that impact of the business was, why does it matter? If I have a 40% open rate and I know that's going to lead to this many clicks and this many leads, so that means if I can get it to a 70% open rate, I can get this many more clicks and this many leads, then it matters. But a lot of people just chase that one thing without knowing what the back-end result that matters to it. So you want to think, how does this metric lead to me getting clients? That's how you know that it matters. So you have to think about how does it push people down towards where I want to go, because otherwise you're just wasting time. It's basically justifying your own job for something that doesn't actually impact the business. And a lot of people do this with just metrics that don't matter, but for them it's an easy thing to change. New followers are great, but if you're not messaging them to see if they're potential clients, you're just increasing a number that doesn't really mean that much overall to you. And then the other question we get all the time, and I've been getting this now for 10 years, when we interview agents all over, they ask, how do you stay on top of all the changes? You've been doing this for so long, it's exhausting to stay up with all the algorithm changes. It's a really super secret silver bullet. I don't. You don't have to pay attention to the changes. If you think about 2 things, so one, who's your ideal client? What do they want to see? What's the content they want? Create that, and then say, how does the platform I'm going to put it on, what's their definition of success for them? So Google, all they want to do is serve the best answer possible. So I just take that good content and structure it to let them know what the answer would be. Instagram wants people to stay on the platform and enjoy the platform. TikTok or Twitter, or X, they just want you on the platform whether you enjoy it or not, and half the time rage bait is the best thing out there. But at the end of the day, that's what it is. So you just take good content and put it there, and then what they end up doing when they're changing the algorithm, it's to benefit you. Because that's what they're trying to surface. They're trying to get rid of people doing these like black hat tactics that are going to screw everything up. So when we look at it, we just say, I'm going to create content for my ideal clients, serve it in the way that the platform wants, and all the changes they make will be to benefit you and get rid of the people trying those little hacks. So when we look at everything that we were talking about, we want all the things that we're evaluating when new trends are coming in. Does it lead to more trust? That's the top of it. And then does it lead to more conversations with ideal clients? Nothing else really matters at the end of the day when you're building out your strategies. More trust with people and more conversations with the right people. I'd rather 100 views with like ideal clients than 1 million with people who don't know me. Going viral doesn't have that much value if it's not with your ideal clients. But if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to kind of answer them another time. Otherwise, really appreciate you guys having me, and I'll see you again at another event.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you for those tips, brother. Appreciate it.